All right, good morning, guys, and thank you for joining today's training. My name is Bongani. I'm part of the technical team here at HikVision. So today we'll be doing just a training on device management on HikProConnect. Okay, I think we can get started. Just want to get the recording going on. Okay, so that is already on. All right, so this is our second training. So today we'll be looking at device management. The first training was on site management. So on this one, we'll be looking at device management. So the topics that we'll be covering there under today, we will be looking at the device remote configuration. We'll also look at the IP cam remote configuration. We'll look at the live view. We'll look at the playback and how to apply and release permissions. We'll look at the password resets, the different options we've got there for the password resets. And we'll look at the proxy function, which is a function that we use then to add devices that are not supported by HikProConnect. We'll look at the device cross-linkage. We'll look at cloud storage and also cloud network management. All right, to get started then, if we look at device management there and remote config, remember with the HikProConnect there, this allows us to get remote config onto our sites, onto our clients' devices there on their sites. So for instance, if a client has got a DVR there on site, they want to change the VCA option, maybe they're getting false alarms from their line crossing or the intrusion detection. So if you wanted to go and change those settings, then instead of having to go out to site to do those changes on the DVR directly, you are able to do this through the HikProConnect. So if you use the remote configuration option, then you'll see it gives you your web page, and the web page that you will normally get if you're on the same local area network as the device, where you're able to have all this access, where you're able to have this access to all these options for the device. So for instance, if you needed to change maybe recording schedule, or you needed to change the VCA rules of that specific device, you are then able to do that here without having to go out to site. So this is just basically there to help you save you time. Instead of going out to site, you can just go into your PC, or you can even use your phone, because through the phone as well, you're able to get this remote config option then. Now I've got an update on that as well. So now you're also able to do IP cam remote configuration. Let's say, for instance, you've got a camera connected directly to an NVR. Now, as you would know, if you wanted to change the image settings of that camera, maybe you wanted to change the day and night mode of the camera, that is not available through the remote config of the NVR. So then you need to have direct access then to the remote config of the camera to be able to set those settings. So as you can see now, we've got an improvement here. So now you're able, when you select the remote config option, you've got an option of selecting the NVR itself, going into the remote config for the NVR itself, or you can also have an option then to get the remote config of the camera there. So now that will give you access to the camera directly there, that's connected directly on the NVR. As you can see here, the options that we've got here, we've got an option then to reboot the camera. So for instance, if you needed to reboot a specific camera, instead of rebooting the whole NVR, then you're able to use this remote configuration option to reboot that specific camera and not the whole NVR. And also, if you wanted to change your image parameters like your day and night mode and that, and normally that's not possible through the remote config of the NVR. But if you go into the remote config of the camera itself, then you're able to change those image settings there as well. So this is just an improvement on the remote config, so that you've just got more control and you're able to set up more parameters on the devices themselves. Right, the next one we'll look at there is the batch configuration there for our HikPro devices. So our HikPro will be our alarm systems, our HikPro alarms. So with this, you're able to arm or disarm up to 500 HikPros at a time. All right, so what you will do is you can create a group. So for instance, if you're managing your client sites, then they've got HikPros. So you can create a group of all those HikPros that you want to be able to arm and disarm at the same time then. So you create a group, then you add the devices to that group. Now, once you've got that group, you can see on that group, you're able then to do a batch arm or a batch disarm. And also you're able to see records of all the devices that failed to arm and all the ones that you're able to arm, and that, so you can see the record of that. So this just helps you, instead of having to arm each device one by one, you can just create a group of all these devices, these HikPro devices, then you're able to arm or disarm them as you need them. And also on this, on the HikPros as well, we support batch remote configuration on these as well. Say for instance, your arming schedule for HikPro, if you set an arming schedule for an HikPro, now you want to copy it to other HikPros for your client sites, for your other client sites then. So you're able to create a template of those settings. So these are the types of templates that you can create. You can create a template for the arming schedule, for the alarm receiving center. So maybe that will be the IP address, and that for the alarm receiving center. Your event type notifications installation by email and FTP. So you can set these parameters, and then you can copy these parameters to up to 100 HikPros at a time. So this will save you time. Once you've created these parameters, each time you need to just configure a new HikPro, and that you can just copy these parameters over to that HikPro. So this just helps you to make the installation much quicker. Also, for CCTV devices, there we support the same. So as you can see through the batch config on the HikProConnect, we are able then to activate the NVR. So this means that even if you do not have a PC on site, you're using your cell phone, and that you're able to activate the NVR and activate the cameras using the HikProConnect them. And then you're also able to link the channels to an NVR. So if it's new cameras that you've just activated and put a new NVR, you're able to use this option as well to link these cameras to the NVR. So this makes the setup much easier. So if you didn't have any PC on that, you can all use this option here to link channels to NVR. Then all the channels that you selected will be added onto that NVR. And you can also set the parameters. So set parameters like your recording parameters, and that you're able to do that as well through this batch device config. In terms of the parameters that we can do, the UFC, for instance, if you've created a recording schedule for one NVR, then you can save that template for the recording schedule. Now, each time you do a new NVR or it's a new client and that, then you're able to copy that schedule then to that new NVR. So you don't need to go over again and create a new recording schedule. You're able then to save that template that you've created, and then you can copy it to the second NVR. So with this, you can set up to 5 templates there as well. Those can be for your FTP settings, for your recording schedules and all those. Once you set up these templates, then you're able then to copy them to other NVRs, which will also just shorten the process of doing the configuration then. All right, now the next one we'll look at is the live view. So remember, through the HikProConnect, we've also got an option of doing the live view. But very important with the live view, you need to have now permission that you do that live view. So it means that the end user needs to have given you the permission to be able to do that live view. So this normally you can use to do your troubleshooting. Say, for instance, a client complains that maybe at night they're getting lines on their camera, and you want to see exactly what type of lines he's talking about, and that then you can use this live view option then to see exactly what's happening with that specific camera then. As you can see on the live view, we've got these options available. So you've got an option to capture. You can record, you can zoom in. This is a digital zoom. Also, you've got a PTZ controller. So if it's a PTZ camera, you've got a PTZ controller as well, so that you can control that camera then. And this will be to change your stream type from HD to the substream. So if you wanted to view the substream of the device, you can just click on this. And if the camera has audio as well, you can use this volume control here if you wanted to hear the audio on that specific camera then. Right, and in terms of the playback there as well, so very important, the playback as well, that it also requires permission from the end user. So before you can do any playback, the end user needs to have given you permission for that. And if you do need to download videos there from the playback, the max video that you can download, the max minutes that you can download for the video is 2 minutes. So if you wanted maybe a 10-minute video, it means then that you need to download 5 times 2-minute videos, because the maximum limit of a video that you can download through the HikProConnect is 2 minutes then. So also on the playback, you've got your options for capture and record as you need them. So you can use that as per the requirement. And we've also got an option now to apply and release device permissions. So for instance, if you're managing a site already and you don't have the permission maybe to do that live view, and you need to now do a live view. So from the site itself, you see you've got an option now to apply for that permission. So if you apply for the live view permission, that will then send a request to the end user's HikConnect, and then they can accept that permission. Remember, these permissions, it can be either for 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, or it can be permanent. So just depending on the need them. And once you select that permission, it gets sent through to the end user. Then the end user can approve then for you to be able to get the live view and that. If you no longer need a permission, so if you've got a permission for a device and you no longer need that permission as well, so you've got an option of releasing that permission as well. So you can click on this button here, then this will allow you, for instance, you see this user has permanent permission, configuration permission on this device. So if they no longer need that permission, then if you click on this button here, then there's an option to release that permission then. Next one we're going to look at there is the password reset. So remember, with the password reset, we've got the 2 types of password resets that we can do on HikProConnect. The first one is the offsite reset. So offsite reset then, requires the installer to be already authorized to the device. So before you can do this password reset, it means that you already need to be authorized to this device. It needs to be appearing there under your sites. And you also need to have configuration permission for that device before you can request this. Right. So now to request this, so you can see these are two options. This is via the web portal. So if you're logged in onto the HikPro web portal, and this is the app itself, if you're logged in on the app on your phone then. So as an installer then, you can be on any network. You just log in onto your HikProConnect, you go into the site, and as you can see here, there's an option then to request the password reset. All right. So when you click on this is through the portal that will send it through to the HikConnect of the end user. Then the end user itself, the end user themselves will be able then to do their password reset. But very important with the end user then needs to be connected on the same LAN as that device that they want to reset. So the installer can connect to any network, but the end user needs to be connected to the same network as the device to be able to do that password reset then. Now with on-site reset, main difference is that now you also still require the configuration permission and the device needs to be already authorized through to you as the installer. But now the main difference here with the on-site reset is that you as the installer needs to be on the same network as the device that you want to reset, but the end user can be on any network. So with on-site, installer needs to be on-site, but end user can be on any network. So as an installer, then if you click on this, then it will send that request through to the end user to be able to do the password reset. Right. So just this, I'm going to show you a couple of videos just to show you, just to demonstrate that password reset function. So the first one will be through the app itself. And also through, if you check the next one, will be also through the portal there. Okay, I think we're having some issues with these videos. Okay, I think I'll play these videos later on in the training. All right, so just these videos basically were just to show how to do that whole request. But the important thing is just if you understand that we've got the on-site and the off-site, just depending on the situation, you can choose which other option you want to use for that. All right. Right, we've also got the proxy function there through the HikProConnect box. Now, remember we've got the HikProConnect box, which is used for the cloud storage. So that's the box that we use to do cloud storage there for our devices. Now, this box, over and above doing the cloud storage, it can also be used now as a proxy device now, all right? So if you're using it as a proxy device, you can add up to 16 channels there onto it. So what this does is that if you've got a device that is not supported on HikProConnect, you can link your device onto the box, onto the HikProConnect box, and then connect the HikProConnect box onto the HikProConnect then. So then this will then give you your normal permissions that you normally have on the supported devices, like your remote config, your live view, and your playback. You'll be able to get all those permissions through that. As you can see here, we've got the 2604 controller, because normally with the 2604 controller, that is not supported by the HikProConnect. So if you wanted to be able to view the 2604 controller there, or you wanted to do any remote config on it, then it means that you needed to add this 2604 controller to this HikProConnect box. Once it's connected to the HikProConnect box, then you'll be able then to do all these remote configuration options through that, because normally this 2604 will not be supported by the HikProConnect platform there. As you can see, this is just some of the examples of the devices that wouldn't be supported by the HikPro, but then you can use these through the box. Using that HikProConnect box, you can then connect these devices. You can see the 7.1 and 7.2 series using these firmware versions. Normally, these devices you won't be able to add onto your HikProConnect, but if you're using that HikProConnect box, then through the proxy function, then you can add these devices. Also, using your controllers as well, you're able to add them then. Right, next one we're going to be looking at there is the device linkage. So device linkage, there, it allows us to get Hikvision devices to work together. So a typical example would be, for instance, if you've got an intercom at your gate, and you've also got a camera that's overlooking that gate station there for the intercom. So you can set it that if somebody maybe presses that intercom button, then the camera can start recording. And also if you've got maybe our alarm system, if you're using our HikPro alarm system, and you also have our access controller, our door access controller, you can set it that if that door is forcibly open, then it can get that HikPro alarm then to go off then. So it can get the alarm then to ring and that. So as you can see, we've got 6 typical configurations that you can do, that you can set up on here. That will be for your intrusion. So intrusion will have to do with maybe a camera detecting something. So if you've got a camera that maybe detects a moving object and that, then you can get that camera to trigger the AX hub. Forced entry alarm, there will also be for your doors, and that if you're using an access control device and somebody forcibly opens that door, and then you can get that to link up to the alarm. We've got an option for back to home. So with this, if you are using our alarm system and you disarm the alarm system, you can set it so that maybe your cameras stop recording, or you can maybe have a privacy mask that goes on. Then once you set it to back to home. Also, we've got an option for away. So away, this means if you arm your alarm system, you can set that the cameras can start recording. Then once you've armed the alarm system, visitor calling will have to do with your intercom. So you can set different linkages as to if somebody calls on your intercom, then what needs to happen. And parameter zone alarm as well will have to do with the PIR detectors, and that if they do pick up, if they are triggered, and that you can then link it up with specific devices. Maybe if your PIR detector picks up movement, and that you can get specific cameras then to start doing the recording and that. So this is the cross linkage, but very important with the cross linkage there is that these devices all need to be on the same site. So you can't do cross linkage with a device that's on a different site. So the devices all need to be on the same site for the cross linkage to work. And also these devices need to be online, because now remember the cross linkage is done through the cloud. So these devices need to be connected to the internet, and that so that if they are triggered, then that cross linkage can work. So if they're not connected online and that, then yeah, this cross linkage is not going to work. Right, just a bit more examples on that. You can see here, for instance, for intrusion, then you can see if we get the PIR detector there, if this is triggered, it can trigger the HikPro alarm then. And once this is triggered, then you can set maybe a camera to start recording. So through this linkage, we can set a specific camera to start recording. Or if you've got an access control device, we can maybe set the door to lock as well. So that can set our access control device to lock as well. Door broken. So this is if you're using our access control device and somebody forcibly opens the door for that access control device, you can get then the NVR to start recording, or you can get the alarm hub to then trigger to sound an alarm in that. Owner's back, this will have to do with you disarming. Now, if you disarm your alarm system, then you can set up a privacy mask so that every time you disarm your alarm system, automatically then the camera will have that privacy mask set on them. Right. So this is just some examples that we can use the device cross linkage. All right, the next one we're going to look at there is our cloud device management. So under cloud device management, you see we've got this first one that we'll look at is our cloud storage then. Remember, we've got this HikProConnect box. I think we've discussed this earlier that we can use this for the proxy function. This is the HikProConnect box. So this box is used for cloud storage. It supports individual cameras. So if you've got individual IP cameras connected to your router and that, you can add these cameras directly onto this. Or if you've got a DVR or NVR, you can add those cameras that are connected through the DVR and NVR through the HikProConnect box. So what will happen is if there's a specific event in that, it will still record on the NVR here, but that will also go into the HikProConnect box, and the HikProConnect box will push this up to the cloud then. So that recording will go up to the cloud. And then from your end there, you see you've got your app there on the phone. So you can use the app there on the phone there to view those videos. And as the installer then, using the HikProConnect, you are the one that can enable or disable the service for the end user, right? But the end user themselves, they're able to then live view and play back. They're able to play back these videos from the cloud. But remember, they cannot get this cloud service without having an installer there with the HikProConnect, because as the installer, you're the one that needs to enable the services for the end user before they are able then to use this cloud storage option then. If we can see and how to activate the service, just important about this box, we can add up to 8 cameras on that box. So it means that if you needed to do cloud storage for more than 8 cameras, then you will need more than 1 cloud storage box, because the maximum cameras that we can do for the cloud storage is 8. And also this only does event storage. So it doesn't do it doesn't do continuous recording. It does only events. So for instance, if you set up your motion detection or line crossing or intrusion detection, if any of those occur, then that video then gets stored onto the cloud, then it will go onto the cloud then. And also over above the 8 cameras that we've added, we can add on here, we can still use up to 16 channels then for that proxy function. So if you've got maybe a NVR that's not supported and that, you can still use that cloud storage box then for that proxy function, so that you're able to get remote config on those devices that are not supported then. As you can see here, this just shows you how to activate the service. So once you've got the cloud storage, then remember this is a paid for service, so you need to pay monthly for it. So for each camera that you need to activate that cloud storage service. We've got a couple of packages that are available for the cloud storage then. So we've got a 7-day monthly package. So it means that your video gets stored for 7 days on the cloud and then it gets overwritten. So that's monthly. Then we've got a 7-day yearly package. So also 7 days recording and then it overrides, but that's a yearly package you can buy for the whole year. Then we've got a 30-day package monthly. So you can buy that 30 days. So it keeps your video for 30 days and it overrides after 30 days. And there's a 30-day yearly package as well. So you can just buy that for the whole year, but then every 30 days, then that video on your cloud will get overwritten then. You're also able to transfer the services then. So for instance, remember we said this can do up to 8 channels. So if you've got maybe a service activated for camera 1, but you no longer need it, so you can deactivate, you can transfer that service from that camera 1, you can then transfer it to camera 2, because it's a service that you've already purchased. So you are able to transfer it to a different camera should you need to. Also, this will just show you the event settings. You can see that when you're setting this up, you need to set up event settings because remember, this only stores on event. So it will work on your events, your motion detection, line crossing, or intrusion detection. So when you're setting it up, you need to set up the type of events that you want to get stored onto the cloud. So you can see, you can select a specific event that you need, you set that up. And once that is done, this is now the playback that you can get from the HikConnect app. So on the HikConnect app there, you can see it's showing you videos from the cloud there. So you're able to see, as you can see, these are all events videos. So anywhere where there was no events there, it will be blanked out then. So this is how then you'll be able to check those playbacks through the HikConnect app on your phone. Right, the next one we'll look at there is the cloud network management. So cloud network management, it's just a nice feature there to help you to forecast network risk and take precautions. Because now, if you're using a normal switch, if there's any bandwidth issues on that switch and that you don't really get any notifications. So if you use our cloud switches, then you're able to get all those notifications. So if maybe a port is blocked on that specific switch, or if the bandwidth is overloaded, and that you can get all these notifications, which will then help you to be able to troubleshoot any issues that might occur then. And also as well, it's also, if you're using this cloud switch, then it's very easy to locate abnormal devices, because on the switch, then our cloud storage, on our cloud switches, we are able to see exactly where each device is connected there on the switch. So by just using this with HikProConnect, you can see on port 1 exactly where each device is connected, and you can see the status of that device, as opposed to going to each port and having to unplug and plug back in. This we can use HikProConnect to get the whole topology of the whole network. Another nice feature is being able to remotely restart a crashed device. So if you've got maybe an IP camera there that's connected onto this, you're able then to say that, okay, if maybe that camera is crashed, then you need to reboot it, then you're able to restart a specific port on that switch. So when it restarts a specific port, then you can get that camera going up again. And also you can upgrade these switches remotely. So if there's any new firmware that needs to be done on the switches and that, you don't need to go to site to do that. All that can be done remotely. I see I've got Bevel here that's raised their hand. Let's quickly see. Hi, Bevel, do you have a question for us?
Yes, hi, Magani. I just wanted to find out, man, with your cloud switches, what ports would need to be opened if you had a firewall on it? Which ports would need to be opened to be able to access those switches?
They use cloud P2P, so they work via cloud P2P, same as with our NVRs and DVRs. So it means they don't need any port forwarding. They work via cloud P2P. So once you've enabled the cloud P2P there on those switches, then you're able to link them up to the HikProConnect via cloud P2P.
Yeah, we see we've got a client that has quite strict firewall rules, and we're not even able to access the NVRs on platform access. So asking, we needed to unblock certain ports to get through to those NVRs. So I'm assuming it would be the same for the
port. Yeah, it will be the same port since it uses the cloud P2P. So it will be the same ports that are used by NVRs for cloud P2P. But if you do need a list of those, and that you can just mail me, and then I can send you a list of those.
Okay, thank you.
All right, cool, man. All right, so this is a topology that we can get now when we've used our cloud switches. You're able to see exactly which device is connected there. You can see if the link is up or if the link is down there. And even if the switch is offline now, because this topology is already there, then you're able to see still devices that are under an offline switch. So this makes it easier for you. You can see already them by just going on the HikProConnect and going on that switch, you can see exactly where the problems are. And it makes it much easier than to do the troubleshooting. So this is also available via the app or the portal, just depending on what you're using at that specific time. Then. Also, then you can see we can get this live status ports. You see, if you're looking at this, then it shows you exactly how the switch is looking like. You can see if it's grayed out, it means there's no devices connected here. Where it's green, you can see that these devices connected and they're up. And where it's red, you can also see that there's definitely problems there. Able to restart that port. For instance, port is blocked or it's busy there, you are able then to restart that port then. So remotely, you can just restart that's only this one specific port if you need to, and to get that up and running then. Also, you can see here we support 7 types of exceptions there for the switch. So if any of these exceptions were to occur on the switch, you will get notifications on that. So for instance, if the PoE power is off there, the PoE power is off on a specific port here, you get a notification. Or if the port is busy, or if it's blocked, or if the PoE power exceeds the limit, or if the port is offline, or even if an RJ45 port is disconnected. So for instance, the client maybe disconnects a device by mistake and that, so you would have already received that notification. So when they call and say, my camera is off, then you know exactly that because you would have received that notification, just ask them to plug that camera back in. So all these exceptions, if they were to occur on the specific switch, then you're able to get all those notifications coming through on your HikProConnect. And even the switch, the whole switch itself there, if you needed to reboot the whole switch remotely, you are able then to reboot this whole switch, not the port itself, but also the whole switch. If you needed to, you can reboot that whole switch remotely as well. And so you can just see the different views from if you're using your app on your phone, and then this will be through the portal if you're logged in via that HikProConnect portal. And it's just the compatibility list. So these will be the switches that will support our Hikvision smart switches, different models there that we've got here, and different ports as well, just depending on the need itself. And this is a firmware version that will be running on these switches then. And you can see this is supported by any HikProConnect version 1.5 and above. And on the HikConnect app itself, any version from 4.7 and above will support this. Right, and the next part we'll look at there is the health monitoring. So remember, once you've enabled this health monitoring feature on your devices, we also get some added benefits on this as well. So we're able to get real-time notifications of our device exception. So if any exception was to happen on our device, like maybe a hard drive goes off and that, then we're able to get those notifications sent through to us directly. We are able to configure linkage rules. So remember that cross linkage that we spoke about, that is available once you've enabled the health monitoring. So once you've enabled the health monitoring, then you can set that cross linkage where you can link different devices to work together that are within the same site. And also we can manage employee roles and permissions. So now this will have to do with your installers. So remember, you can create now installer accounts there for your installers. And then you can also manage the type of permissions that these installer accounts have then. Log management. So once we've got this, once we've created these roles and permissions, then we're able to do log management, because now if a specific employee does some changes on a specific device, then all that is logged. We are able to get history of that. And also our exceptions as well, we're able to get logs of those exceptions. So we can get up to 7 days list for exceptions. So if you needed to go back and check what exceptions occurred on a specific device, we can go back to up to 7 days then. Right. Yeah. Once you've enabled this, you also get 5 installer accounts. So you'll have the first one will be the admin account, and then you have 4 employee accounts. So if you've got installers that are working for you, then you can then create these employee accounts there for them with the different permissions, so that they can also manage the client sites. Core branding. So remember, we spoke about the core branding there, I think, in our last training. So core branding is just to allow you to put up a logo of your business you upload that onto the HikProConnect, and any client that's authorized their device to you, each time when they start up their HikConnect app, they will then see your logo there. So instead of coming up with that normal HikConnect app logo, it will then come up with the logo of your company, just to help increase your brand awareness then. And also, if you've got the health monitoring enabled, you can add an unlimited number of devices for the basic package functions. So like your basic package options, like your remote configurations and all that, you can add an unlimited number of devices there for that once you've got the health monitoring there enabled. Right, so this just gives you some background with that health monitoring. As you can see here, we get this, it gives us this dashboard here, and the status is on this dashboard there. They are the online and offline status to tell if the device is online and offline. That gets updated every 4 minutes. And other statuses then will then get updated every 30 minutes. So because you've got this nice dashboard that you are able to see exactly once you're logged in, you're able to see which devices are offline or which devices are giving issues. You're also able then to filter them out to get devices that are offline only, so you can start working on those and see what the problem is. So yeah, just different options that you can use from this dashboard. And also, you remember we spoke about the exceptions then. So if any of these exceptions occur on your device, like maybe your the hard drive fails for a specific client, you can get that notification that will get sent through your portal. So through the HikProConnect portal itself, once you're logged in, can see that there's a notification that will tell you that a specific device, maybe the HDD is off or whatever exception occurred. Also, if you're using the app, the HikProConnect app, then that can get sent to you as a push notification onto the app. And you can also specify an email address as well. So if you wanted this exception to be sent through via email to a specific email, you can also set up that email address as well. So the exceptions there, remember the retention period for this is 7 days. So you can always go back in history to up to 7 days to see which exceptions occurred on a specific device. And you're able then to export a report of these exceptions. So you can have a report either in an Excel format, CSV format, or a PDF format. You can just have this and then you're able to export this over then. All right, I think that will be all from my side there for today's training. So this will just be your QR codes if you wanted to download the app or if you wanted to connect to the portal itself for HikProConnect.